U.S. Census data attributes 95% of the state of Texas population growth of the last decade to people of color. The Lone Star State's minority growth substantially contributed to the state gaining 2 additional congressional seats in the House of Representatives, bringing its total to 38 seats. But despite minorities driving Texas's growth, lawmakers have proposed a new congressional map that reduces the number of districts in which people of color make up the majority of voters. In essence, they are stealing power from black and brown people to boost their own power. The construction of Texas's proposed congressional map suggests state Republicans' priorities are the protection of incumbent seats. The proposed map indicates that their strategy was to solidify votes for vulnerable GOP seats rather than attempting to win new seats. Texas Republicans are not alone in their efforts to use redistricting to maintain their strongholds on the state house or as representatives in the House of Representatives. To date, 15 states have proposed new congressional maps that will significantly impact state and federal elections. That number of states is expected to grow, with 28 states providing deadlines to approve new congressional maps that will stretch well into 2022. Joining us to discuss is Director of Democracy Policy for Indivisible, Meagan Hatcher-Mays. Meagan, this is the insidious part of what is happening. Minorities are fueling massive growth, particularly in southern states and border states. But because Republicans are still in control of the state houses in those states, they're basically stealing that energy to bolster their own energy. How dangerous is this, and how prevalent is it going to be as we see map after map roll in, particularly from states that have Republicans in charge of their state houses?
Yeah, it's very, very scary. This is a situation where this could, in theory, we're already seeing this, lead to a situation where our legislative branch falls into the hands of minority rule. So despite the fact that Democrats will be getting millions upon millions more votes in both House races and Senate races, you will still see that Republicans are maintaining control of the House. And that's happening because state legislatures that are, and governors who are Republicans are drawing these types of maps, just like you say, even though Texas saw growths in the millions of Latinos in that state, you don't see congressional districts that reflect those majorities. And they don't have majority black districts based on this draft. It's a real mess. And so what ends up happening is that even though the state is largely Hispanic, largely black, these very conservative districts still end up taking the majority of the seats, even though they don't get the majority of the vote. So this is not only happening in Texas, this could theoretically happen in North Carolina, who has had a lot of problems drawing fair maps in the past. Could very well happen in Florida and in other states led by Republican legislatures or Republican governors. It's very scary. It could lead to a very significant erosion in the American people's faith in democracy, quite frankly.
And what happens when you combine that with what Texas is also doing in terms of suppressing the vote? So if you have, you're pushing more minority votes into fewer districts, and on top of that, you are have a kind of voter suppression legislation, probably the strongest in the country, but is likely to be duplicated if no one strikes it down or no one really challenges it. How detrimental is it the fact that those two things will be operating together in Texas?
Extremely detrimental. It basically gives them a lock. It's insurance, I guess you could say. I mean, I think they kind of started with voter suppression, make it as difficult as possible for people to vote in the lead up to this opportunity. I think they see it as an opportunity to redraw the maps in Texas to make them more favorable to Republican incumbents and less favorable to Democratic incumbents. So if you make it difficult for people to vote, then you have a better chance of keeping, your federal majorities. And if you, if you gerrymander certain districts out of existence, you can keep your federal majorities. And if you make it more difficult for people to vote in state, you can keep your local ones too. So it just gives state level Republicans, pretty much they've closed down every avenue to fix this problem. And the Supreme Court has said, at least as far as partisan gerrymandering is concerned, that they don't have a hand in deciding partisan gerrymandering cases at all, because that's a political question and it's really none of their business. So really what needs to happen now is Congress, enough with the dilly-dallying on the voting rights legislation and the democracy reforms, they really need to start passing some bills to address what we're seeing in Texas,
So wait,
Georgia, Arizona.
I want to understand something about this. I want to understand something about this. Do you believe that there is no judicial path to challenging this in Texas?
Oh, there is. Yes, there is. Yes. And people are already said they're going to sue. I think LULAC has sued Texas every decade for the last 50 years, and they've been successful every time. So there's absolutely is. It's just in the very limited situation for partisan gerrymandering, the Supreme Court has said they won't hear it, but that doesn't mean that the maps are otherwise constitutional. They could very well still be in violation of federal law or the Constitution. It's just very difficult these days to bring a successful voting rights case to the judiciary. As folks I'm sure know, the Supreme Court has gutted the Voting Rights Act, which actually opened the door for a lot of these terrible maps to be drawn and all these horrible racist voter suppression laws to pass. And then to go back to that court and say, we think that this map is unconstitutional, it's a little bit difficult to make that case to a court who has already said that we don't need the Voting Rights Act anymore because things have changed dramatically in the South. That's what they said when they struck it down.
So, as you were touching on before, there's a need for federal legislation. It's stalled right now. Right now, we haven't even seen new legislation. They said they're considering or rewriting a bill. I haven't seen the wording for that bill, but it's supposed to be some sort of Mansion Plus plan. But do you believe that this issue will be significantly dealt with? That partisan gerrymandering and drawing of maps will be significantly dealt with, that it will not disenfranchise and otherwise limit the power of people of color like is happening in Texas?
So I certainly hope so. The Freedom to Vote Act, which is the bill that Joe Manchin helped write, which includes a lot of the provisions that he wanted. A lot of them were already in a previous bill called the For the People Act. This bill, the Freedom to Vote Act, bans partisan gerrymandering, which is good. So it would require states to draw maps fairly and keep communities of interest together and all of that. It has other stuff in it too that is good. Actually, it makes Election Day a federal holiday. It makes it easier to vote by mail and all sorts of things like that. So even though, in fact, I think that Joe Manchin's going to be a hot topic on every single TV show for the next month probably. He is a problem on lots of issues, but this is a situation where he actually has skin in the game. So he helped write this bill. And so you have to hope that even though we're not going to get to 60 votes in the Senate, he's not going to find 10 Republicans to vote with the Democrats on this bill, that because he wrote it, because he has a vested interest in this voting rights legislation, that he will be open to the possibility of at least reforming the filibuster so that we can get it done. Because the alternative is, just like
Do you believe that he will? I mean, he keeps saying that he won't.
Yeah, well, I'm hopeful. Yeah, I'm hopeful. He has suggested that he's open to the possibility of bringing back the talking filibuster, which at least requires senators to go down to the floor and object instead of just kind of shooting off an email saying, oh, I object to this, by the way. So that's good. He hasn't totally closed the door on the talking filibuster, which is what I hold on to with all my might for hope. But this is a situation where the alternative is this bill that he spent all summer working on doesn't pass. So that would be on him. He wrote it. It's his bill. And the only reason it won't pass is if he refuses to change the rules of the Senate to get it passed. So I am hopeful that he will see the light on this in particular.
Meagan Hatcher-Mays, thank you so much for joining me tonight. I appreciate it.